Conservation can happen on all kinds of places. Cattle ranches are some of those spaces.
Thank you for tuning in to Hannah and Eric Go Birding, a podcast by birders for birders.
I'm Hannah and he's Eric.
And we created this podcast to share adventures, sometimes misadventures, and opinions that we have on different birding topics. We're definitely not experts, and anything we discuss that might be controversial, I want you to remember there are opinions, and they might be different from yours.
I feel like we have a whole bunch of news.
Yes, a lot of just random stuff that we just wanted to mention.
So recently we were honored to be listed in an article by Jeff in the Daily Herald, which is a suburban Chicago paper. He has a column there called Words on Birds. And he had an article about different birding podcasts that he enjoys listening to. So thank you so much, Jeff, for including us on that. And if you want to check it out, we did post it on Facebook, but we'll also post it in the show notes as well. But Thank you. We really appreciate it.
And kind of funny, the way that the picture was designed for it, when you shared the link, the little highlighted, the preview picture, where it centered on was centered on us. It centered on our logo. So it was like,
nice.
Oh, look, we're, even though we, like, there was lots of other very, very fun podcasts, lots of interesting things that were posted. Ours was the one that was that was part of the little preview.
And if you're listening to us because you read about it in Jeff's article, we do have some older episodes about going to Chicago and birding around that area.
Yeah.
Which of course we're novices to that area, and you're probably an expert. But it, we really enjoyed going there and seeing the magic bush and getting our car towed. And I mean, we didn't really enjoy
all the
that.
things that you do in Chicago.
Yeah. We went to a fun bar. But yeah, we definitely need to get to that region of the country more often because I just really enjoy going to Chicago.
Yeah.
Well, the 2 times we went.
The 2 times, yeah. Once to run a marathon, once to go bird a little bit.
Yeah, you were in a marathon. How do you feel about it? About Chicago?
It was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 26 miles of Chicago I saw.
Man, we saw all the views in like 2 days there.
Yeah, that was a rough, lots and lots of walking and then followed up the next day with a marathon.
Yeah, exactly. But thanks again, and if you're new to our show, we hope you enjoy.
All right, so the AOS, the American Ornithological Society, they just released their first batch of proposals for the year. Every year, there's people post these. We don't always talk about them. I just found some of these interesting, so I figured we could mention them. But every year, people propose to the American Ornithological Society, which is the group that holds the list for birds in the Americas. They accept proposals for people to say, hey, I want to split this bird. I want to lump this bird. The scientific evidence shows that blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is, changes to taxonomy or just changes to names of birds. Get proposed to them. A committee meets. They review all of those proposals and then they make decisions. So this year there was, so far, the one batch that's been released that has like 6 proposals or so in it. There was a few that were kind of interesting. Willet. We've been recognizing willet as an eastern and a western subspecies. It is now being proposed as a western and an eastern
so
willet.
Upgrading it into two
upgrading
species.
them to actual species. Great egret looks like it's being proposed to have a lot of stuff. Potentially up to 4 splits. So...
And that would be over the world.
Over the whole world, yeah. So there would be an American great egret is what the proposal is, and then which would constitute, as far as I can tell, North and South America. And then there would be an Western, which would be like Western Europe. Eastern would be Eastern Europe into Asia. And then potentially African great egret. There was a lot. I didn't really read that one that in depth because I was kind of more interested in the Yucatan Vireo split that was in there that didn't have a lot of science research done on it. It was a lot of anecdotal information in there, but seemed like there's some stuff to split it and give Grand Cayman the Cayman Islands, specifically Grand Cayman, a new endemic. So
which
that could be exciting.
Like you were saying, there's not a whole lot of science like backing that one as much as some of the other ones. And, I've noticed that when I was looking up Yucatan Vireo for my podcast cocktail, that there was very little information. And we talked about this.
Yeah. We did during that episode. Yeah.
Yeah. There's very little information about that species. So hopefully this gets people more interested and helps bolster some of that research.
Yeah. That's a good point. So that's something we talked about just the other day. Like maybe in some cases, people will be like, hey, I know that there's something here. I just gut feeling I know that there's something to be looked at here, but nobody has spent the money or time to do this. And so potentially this Yucatan Vireo split could create some graduate student projects or something out of it. People are like, oh, well, we're pretty sure it's a different species. So then now somebody's going to spend a bunch of time reviewing audio recordings, going out and getting DNA, doing some very in-depth science to segregate these two vireos from each other. And then, boom, potentially that gives somebody their project for college or gives a college something to do, something to get some information to. It's kind of interesting. So it's not for nothing to submit a proposal, potentially. Yeah. It could cause people to really get in-depth looking into it.
Yeah, and so that's just the first batch of proposals that have come up. I think it said like March, maybe it was the deadline of proposals for this round.
The end of March?
I think it was said March 15th. Anyways, we'll post the link in the show notes. So if you want to learn more about the different proposals that are coming forward, make your own decision about how you feel about these things. Yeah. You can check that out and learn more about these different ways in which we taxonomically organize birds.
Yeah, where people sit around and fight about how birds are different from each other.
I really want them all to wear wigs, like an English court.
Oh, see, I want them to wear like capes and sit up in like a tower, like big robes, like wizards, and like big long beards.
I wish I was a cartoon artist because I would
men, women, all of them, big long beards.
I would make such a good a political cartoon about that.
Anyways, that's the sciencey part of the show. Besides other science that we might talk about, but
we also wanted to mention that we have a trip that we're leading coming up with Naturals Journeys. We've partnered with them to go to Costa Rica. So we're really excited, and we've already had some people sign up for that. So we originally had a couple single rooms and then handful more double rooms. Currently, the single rooms are already booked. So apologies if you really wanted a single room. But they do have double rooms available, and if you don't have somebody you'll be traveling with, they can help coordinate getting people to share rooms. So we really hope you'll...
And Naturalist Journey does a great job of getting people coordinated and matching people up that seem like they would be okay together. So that's... I've seen it happen. People become friends after trips like this, so it's possible. Just... We're out of single rooms, though.
Yeah. So apologies about that. But if you're interested in going with us, please check out the link in the show notes. We would love to have you join us to go to Costa Rica. Yeah. It is October 15th through the 22nd, and we're going to a bunch of really cool places that we haven't been before in Costa Rica. So
places we haven't talked about on the podcast yet.
Exactly. So it'll be fun to explore together. So please join us if you are available.
All right. So we do this show because we love birding.
Yeah.
We don't do it because we want money for it. We don't do it because we want to convince people to come on a trip with us. We just want to share birding with people. But having said that, we do have a way for you to support the show. We have a Buy Me a Coffee and Venmo. You can, both the links are in our show notes. And we received a coffee from someone this last cycle.
Who chose to be anonymous, so that's why it's someone. You know who you are. Thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, you can mark it as someone, and we just say someone, and if you can mark it as your name, and we'll say your name. But either way, the other thing on Buy Me a Coffee, they have a feature that you can sell stuff. So Hannah has been making some epoxy earrings with birds on them, and there's lots of photos of them on our Buy Me a Coffee, and you had somebody buy some recently in the last cycle, right?
Yeah, I had a couple people buy them. Nice. So thank you so much for supporting that. It's been a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. And I just made some more. So
there's more. Are the pictures on there yet for them, for the new ones?
I posted like 4 new today, 2 earrings and 2 necklaces. But then I made some evening grosbeaks last night and some bob white quail. So those will be up as soon as I get myself together to finish them.
Take some pictures and post them.
Well, I have to make the resin earrings, and then I have to that takes a day, and then I have to go through and string them all up so they're earrings.
Make it actual jewelry.
Yeah, so it's like a 2-day process. So anyways, thank you so much for everybody who supported that. I really appreciate it. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So Hannah, you have episodes in between episodes of Hannah and Eric Go Birding. You have Women Birds Happy Hour, which comes out next week. Who'd you have on for that?
So Next week I will have Sandra Maracho, who is a birder in Ecuador,
Okay.
join us for that episode. So that'll come out on March 12th.
And then last week, Bird Nerd Book Club, you read a book and then interviewed the author all about that book. What'd you read?
So I had Jennifer Bristol, whose book just came out this last month called Wild Women for Good. And it's a story, well, it's dozens of different stories of women conservationists in Texas.
All right.
So that came out on February 26th. And you can check out both those podcasts anywhere you listen to podcasts. So, Eric, we're traveling.
Yes, we are. We are traveling some places. In April, we're going to be going to the Spring Chirp, which is a boutique bird festival in the Rio Grande Valley, out of Weslaco. Great fun festival. Registration's open. I'm sure it's a couple of weeks away, so you hurry up and book if there's still space. And then in October, we are going to Costa Rica, as we said a few minutes ago. If you are interested, you can check out the link on our show notes to check it out and possibly book if you want to come with us. And then Rio Grande Valley Birding Festival. Still haven't received the golden ticket, but just like last episode, we're going to manifest it by saying it. So Rio Grande Valley Birding Festival, it's the first week in November. Great fun festival, big huge thing. Tons and tons of birds, valley specialties, all that stuff. It's a fun time. You should come.
As you can tell, we like going to the Rio Grande Valley.
Yes, Rio Grande Valley, Texas, amazing. So this is March, first episode in March. So we have a giveaway. So the Denver Audubon Society communications director has been posting some things that we kind of found interesting
on Instagram
specifically. That we figured we'd just kind of steal that idea of what they're doing.
So if you follow their Instagram, you'll see that a lot of their posts are like, hey, I went thrifting today, and here are the bird things that I saw while thrifting.
Yeah.
And then also, like, here are the bird-related things that I have in my house. So we decided to ask you all to send us a picture or give us a description of a random or your favorite bird possession.
We have a lot of weird bird stuff.
A lot of people give us stuff.
We have a little carved. We should take a picture of it. A little carved. Your sister gave it to us. A little carved wooden bird that has like a dangly head, and it was sitting on the
windowsill.
On the windowsill, it's got a little dangly head that hangs on a little wire, and it just kind of sits there. I think you could like put it on the dash of your car, and the head would bounce.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, it's very colorful. She got it in Mexico a few years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's an interesting retail. We'll take some pictures of them and post them in the Facebook post with this. But we need you to send us whatever weird bird thing is.
Well, I want to say mine.
Oh, say your thing. Yeah.
Okay. So like last year, I think for my birthday or for Christmas, you got me custom made bookends.
Oh yes. Yeah.
That are laser cut puffins.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of my favorite bird possessions that I have.
It's interesting, weird bird things that wouldn't normally have birds on, but you find a way to get a bird on them. A bookend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever you have,
that's very vague.
If it's
but
random,
you
if
get
it's
it.
Weird, if it's your favorite thing, if you think other people would be jealous of it, you can send it to us. What you will win from the randomly selected people that enter by March 17th, we are going to give away a Costa Rica bird guide.
Yeah.
Because we're going to Costa Rica soon, and we have lots of bird guides. We love bird guides. So Costa Rican bird guide, you'll receive that. We'll contact you, whoever the winner is then. But March 17th is the deadline. We'll announce it in our next episode, whoever the winner is.
You can post it on our Facebook, or you could email us, or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But yeah, send us your favorite bird-related birdie possession.
Yeah.
So we've been trying to talk more about conservation as much as possible because it's such an important thing. And there's so many programs of conservation that are happening that I feel like don't necessarily make it to the knowledge base of like the public.
Yeah.
And so we were trying to figure out, like, when we go down to Morro Bay, like, what is a really cool project that we can highlight? And we found one that I was really excited about called Bird Returns, which I'm still hoping we can get with
Hopefully
in the future.
Can make that connection.
Yeah, and that's a program where farmers can enroll into it and help birds along their migration route. But since we weren't able to coordinate that for this episode, Audubon, California was like, hey, what about this ranching program that we have? And we were like, hey, yeah, we'll check it out.
What even does that mean? But yeah, sure.
Exactly. So we hooked up with Grace, who is the coordinator, the program manager for Conservation Ranching Program with Audubon, California. And she got in touch with one of the ranches that she works with that is absolutely stunning, has like the most incredible view of a place that I've ever seen. And it's called Swallow Creek Ranch. And so we went out there and met the ranchers and talked about this program and how it impacts their ranch and what they specifically had to do to be involved with it.
We sat there, watched the sunset, interviewed them. Their dog, you can hear their dog walking around in the background, jingling its collar as it's walking around. But we chatted for a long time about the program, what their part is in it, and how everything goes. But so listen in to hear more about the program.
Well, I can't tell you what a gorgeous view this is of the Pacific Ocean. Much better than my typical Pacific Ocean view, which has a lot more clouds. Beautiful sky overlooking Morro Bay. And we are on a gorgeous ranch that has this amazing view. But first off, I want to ask Grace about what we're doing out here. But I guess let's start off with who you are and what you do.
Great. My name is Grace Ferguson, and I am the program manager for the Conservation Ranching Program at Audubon, California. That's a national program that spans over 14 states. We work with about 3 million acres across the west of the U.S. And just work with ranchers through our certification program to incentivize better habitat management and make sure that birds have a place on all those ranches, and also tell the story of how birds use those ranches and rely on those ranches to survive. And it's kind of a weird way that I got into the program, but I actually grew up in California, in Vacaville, California. And my mom was a cow vet, and my dad had studied wildlife biology in school, and so
you just put those two together.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So the way that I found this program and that this program even existed is wild. But yeah, from a very early age, I grew up helping gather cattle on ranches and do the vet work, give vaccines, things like that, and then in our free time, we'd go on hikes in national parks or state parks, and my dad would be pointing out all of the cool wildflowers and birds and trees and things like that. And so when I finally went to school, I went to UC Berkeley in the Bay Area and ended up studying natural resources, but always loved rangelands and grassland areas and that kind of mix, and working with working lands, so essentially trying to achieve conservation that works for people and wildlife and native plants. And that's how I ended up landing this job. So, yeah, been great ever since.
And how long have you been doing this?
I've been doing it for about 3 years now.
Okay.
Yeah, so just past my 2-year mark into the 3-year range. I started actually as a rangeland ecologist. And before this, I was working at a resource conservation district. So again, working in the kind of working lands conservation interface.
Okay. And how long has this conservation program existed?
So this conservation program started in 2014.
14, all right.
Yep. And it started as a result of the State of the Birds report that came out that showed really steep declines, especially in grassland birds. I think in that original report, it showed that grassland birds were declining by about 53% across the U.S., which was a really terrifying statistic for a bird conservation organization like the National Audubon Society. And what they discovered pretty quickly is that you can't really achieve grassland bird conservation without working with private landowners and ranchers specifically. Grasslands tend to be managed with livestock across the western U.S., and so in order to protect those grassland birds and make sure that they have healthy places to live, we also have to work with ranchers and livestock operations to make sure that our goals are, again, bridging gaps between these different parties in order to find a happy middle ground that works for everyone.
Yeah. I honestly kind of assumed that it came because of the State of the Birds report.
Yes.
Because Hannah and I have done a couple of presentations where we use a lot of the data from that from the Fish and Wildlife report that came out.
Yeah.
And I
Or
was thinking,
Cornell
like,
and a bunch of partners put it
oh,
together.
lots and lots of people, but it's
Yeah.
not just a single organization. But yeah, we've talked about that. Like, well, this program had to have come because of that. But it was like, oh, that's just conjecture. Like, but it's nice to hear that that is the reason why it came about.
It did,
Okay.
yeah. And, again, because Audubon is trying to respond to the greatest needs that are out there. And so that we saw grassland birds were one of the bird populations that really needed our support.
Yeah.
And this program, in coming out of that, so we're a giant conservation organization. We typically do these kind of restoration programs, where we're doing active restoration on places, or we've got centers and sanctuaries where we're teaching birds about, or teaching people about birds. But this, we had to tackle how do we work with private lands on a scale big enough to really help bend the grassland bird curve. And in order to do that, we came up with this innovative certification program. And it's a way to add value to ranches for ecosystem services that they're providing, essentially. So through our program, we work with ranchers to come up with a habitat management plan that encompasses their whole property or all of the properties that they're grazing. And that's just a way to identify key resources, key birds, key bird habitats, and come up with solutions, if there are any that are needed, to improve those habitat features on the ranch. And then in order to make sure that that's happening, we also do monitoring regularly every 3 years. In California, we work really closely with Point Blue Conservation Science, and they help us do all of our monitoring through their Rangeland Monitoring Network. And then we also have protocols that all of the ranchers have to follow that ensure that they're meeting certain standards when it comes to animal health and welfare, environmental sustainability, and then also regional habitat requirements.
So that kind of brings us to the other folks that are with us today. So we're at Swallow Creek Ranch, and can you all just, I guess, do a little intro of yourself and tell us about your ranch?
Sure. My name is Kyla Grafton, and I grew up on this ranch just north of Cayucas on the central coast of California. And it was my family's ranch. My dad ran it as a cattle ranch, beef cattle ranch. His background was in dairy. He grew up on a dairy farm in Ohio, and getting away from those roots, he wanted to get back into that lifestyle, into those roots, and he landed here in the early 1980s. And we raised beef cattle for a really long time until he became a stage in his life where he couldn't do that. And that's where Nick kind of took over the ranching operation. And it's been a really fun partnership with him, and he's my Superman. He just knows how to do everything, which ranchers are glorified. Everything. They can plumb, they can fix vents, they can fix mechanical stuff. Yeah. So it's been great having Nick around. And this is my better half, Paul. You can introduce yourself and maybe talk about your background.
My name's Paul Grafton, and I am watching a kestrel fly right over us right now. And I am Kyla's husband, and I came to this ranch our first time ever meeting Dwayne, who's her father, was in the mid-90s, and fell in love with it ever since then, and I've been with Kyla ever since then. And my career was as a naturalist, so I was a nature guide for children for the last 20 years or so. So I probably feel most at home sharing my love of nature with other people. And so when we moved out here 5-6 years ago, it's like, oh, okay, what can we do here? And so, yeah, that's my story.
Okay.
Well, and before we turn on the microphone, Nick, you were telling us about your family's history in this area, that it goes back to the 1800s?
Yeah, 1870. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
My great-grandfather came over on the boat, landed right here in Cayucas, and kind of been in the cattle business, whether it be dairy or commercial cattle, our whole lives. I had a career also. I didn't totally do cattle. I had a career with an electric company here locally for 40 some years, but I was able to do the work and the life balance with the cattle because it was so close to where I just live like 2 miles from here. So, yes.
So cattle on the weekends, power company on the weekdays.
Yeah. Kind of, and mixed match
And
too. Yeah. I get a call from Kyla that one of the cows are in the wedding venue, and we gotta go. So, no, it's been a good fit, you know, and just getting to know Paul over the last few years, because I've always in the back of the ranch there's eagles, there's buzzards, there's all these birds, and I never really knew what the heck they were, but it was like, man, there's some beautiful birds back there, and they'll get up on the rocks and they'll wait for the sun to come up and they'll spread their wings and dry them, and it's like, so Paul started coaching me on these birds, you know, and it was like, man, and so there's condors back there, there's bald eagles, golden eagles, kestrels, buzzards. What am I missing? You know, they're everywhere back there.
The raptors.
So we started figuring out that, okay, so the kestrel birds, correct me if I'm wrong, would, they need that habitat back there, because I had a terrible problem with grasshoppers. You would drive through the ranch and these grasshoppers would just fly in your face, you know, and eat the grass. Terrible.
Yeah.
So Paul's like, hey, the kestrel, they'll eat the grasshoppers. So we started seeing more of these birds around. Paul built a few little homes for them. Now we hardly have any grasshoppers eating our grass. It's weird. So
An integrated pest management.
Yeah, totally.
Pest man.
Yep.
Now here come the grasshopper people, probably.
This isn't an insect podcast.
That's fine. It's just
we're
birders
safe.
listening to this anyways. That's fine.
But we, you know, with all of the experience Kyla, Paul, and I have, we combine it all together here, and we have a beautiful pairing areas. Yeah, there you go. So we're working together, doing all that stuff, and also maintaining a habitat for the birds, because it's so crazy to go back there and watch them sit on the water tanks and wait for something, you know, and then like the condors, they can't kill nothing, so they wait for something to die before they eat.
Yeah.
You know, I learned a lot of stuff about that. And we had Cal Poly had something out here where they would bring the calves. They had a big area cordoned off where the critters couldn't get in there, and they'd get these calves from Cal Poly that had died, right?
Yeah, it was the Ventana Society, and they are a condor rehabilitation and reintroduction into the wild organization. And we had a condor, because not a lot of condors need a big long space to be able to take flight because their wingspan is so large.
Yeah.
So we had the perfect spot on the ranch that they protected for the condors, and they also brought in food for them in the form of stillborn or calves from the local university.
So is your ranch one of the release locations somewhere within this property?
It was for a while,
Okay.
and then that program lost some funding. They had some infrastructure issues with their facility in Big Sur. There was a fire. There was a lot of.
Yeah.
They had a lot of roadblocks, and then our road washed out, so it's impassable in the wintertime.
Oh, yeah.
So they haven't been out in a while,
Okay.
but we're hoping to rekindle that relationship.
So how
And the
big
condors are still here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they it was funny, like 2 years ago they had something on TV where they were missing this condor and called this number, and I saw a condor with a little bracelet on it, so I called the number. I never got any response, but you know, they're so quiet about where these condors are at because they don't want people to come and either look at them or hurt them or whatever.
Harass them too
Yeah.
much.
Harass
And,
them. No, but then the eagles back there, and you know, it's just so weird how they can all commingle and get along. And I mean, shoot, if I turn two bulls, I was telling Kyla, I turned two bulls out today, and they born together, raised together, and they're out there fighting to the death. But birds, you can just like shoot birds, just all get along.
We have more important things.
So how long have you been interested in having this intersection between birds and your property, this ranch out here?
When we first moved here, my dad was an amateur birder.
Okay.
He actually gave the ranch its name, the Swallow Creek. He got to name that creek based on the barn swallows, the cliff swallows, the cliff swallows that
Nice.
inhabited all of our barn areas.
Yeah.
And he was inspired by them to restore the riparian area and fence it off from the cattle. So he fenced it off. This was in the early 80s, and did a lot of restoration with native plants, planted a lot of trees. He was really involved in a local organization called Trees for Cayucas. So he used the labor force from that to also plant trees along the creek, as well as in some of the other local areas. So he was kind of inspired by just the local winged habitats of this place. Yeah.
So then how did you all find out about this program that Audubon, California is offering?
I got a text from my brother's wife, who grew up with Grace's mom, and said, "This seems like right up your alley." He sent me a flyer, and I called Grace, and she came out, and we're like, "Yeah, this is awesome." So.
Yeah, Paul and I both have a background in natural resources and natural history. I was a park ranger up in Northern California, so we have an appreciation for this land from a very kind of stewardship perspective, which is maybe not the case for all landowners that just want to utilize the resources available rather than restore and enhance those. So for us, it was very important. These kinds of programs that Grace brought to our attention are really near and dear to our hearts. Yeah, it's good stuff you're doing.
So I know you shouldn't ask how many head of cattle you've got out here, but approximately how large is this ranch?
How many acres you got?
617 acres,
Okay.
and the cattle population fluctuates because Nick can speak more to this, but it's about a 10 acre per cow ratio.
Okay.
Perfect,
Yeah.
Depending on the weather,
Yeah.
like this year, if we don't get any more rain, then we're going to have to pull some cattle out of here. So
Yeah.
it's
There's only
just-
so many
we
resources.
just manage it.
Yeah.
We just try to not get it, not overgraze it. I keep a real close eye on it. So we'll bring cattle in and take and manage it to the point where we're not overgrazing it.
Mhm.
So we still have grass and year round. So, yeah.
And so that was something kind of awkward segue, but that was something that I was looking up online about this program is this meat then, because of all of the extra care that's taken in the habitat and the extra care that each individual cattle gets, that there's a different price tag per pound that you can get out of this meat because of the labels that you can put on this, right?
So that
So that's the economic value that the rancher can get from doing these sorts of things.
in theory, yes. When the
Okay.
program was started, that was the goal, was to fit into this kind of regenerative food market and regenerative label market that
Okay.
we've got, and provide that for high quality beef products that are coming, beef and bison, and hopefully soon sheep and goat as well, that are coming off of these ranches that are so well managed. In practice, I think that is a really hard thing to manage for especially when you're a conservation organization. Like Audubon is not, we are many things, but expert marketing professionals in the food space is not necessarily one of them. However, I'd say, and you all can speak to this, I think the real value in our program comes from being creative, or more creative ways than just the label on the beef product. Like, for instance, in California, which Nick can probably talk about this a little bit more But most ranchers in California are cow-calf or stalker operations. And so what that means is they either have the mother cows and are raising calves every year, and so their crop essentially is the calves that they're selling on to market.
Okay.
Or they are stalkers, where they'll bring other people's calves onto their property and graze them for a certain amount of time, and then make money off of the weight that they've gained on their property.
Okay.
And then those will be sold either into another grass-fed program, or they'll be sold into a feedlot system.
Okay.
And so there is not necessarily, and part of that in California is because we have these really dry summers, and so it's really hard to put weight on cattle all year round. It's really,
So you have to move them to somewhere where there's more water.
yes, more water, green grass. And so typically that's the Midwest. So a lot of cattle from California will be going to the Midwest to be
Okay.
finished
All right.
and make market weight. So our program in California is really more focused on helping add value to the land in other ways. So either by bringing in funds for restoration projects or for infrastructure projects that can help improve management. So for instance, helping to pay for fencing so that people can graze in a more nuanced way on their property, or rotate cattle more frequently,
Okay.
or adding water troughs and things to help better utilize those properties. Or, another way that we can add value is we can bring a supportive birding community to these ranches as well. And so, like in this county, it's a little bit of a special case because I happen to also be on the board of the local Audubon chapter, but we're able to connect the local Morro Coast Audubon chapter with the certified ranches in the area. And so then now these ranchers have birders that are supporters of their ranches and are advocates of those ranches, and help them have more data. So like one of the ranches that we work with, the Sinton family, they do sell grass-fed beef, and so we've been able to help them advertise their certified grass-fed beef in this county to the birding community. But then also, because of the bird lists that they have from this program, they're able to better secure easements for their ranches to make sure that they are preserved for conservation, or for as a ranch
Okay.
in perpetuity, so can't be developed. They in turn have helped the Morro Coast Audubon chapter fundraise, so it ends up being a really healthy partnership in that way. And so that's a lot more creative and indirect, but that's where the value of this program, I think, really comes out.
Okay. Is that how you guys see it too? As being on the receiving end of the potential value out of this program?
Yeah, I mean, we do a combination of things here, because we do the cattle ranching,
Mhm.
but we also have a wedding we have an old barn that we lease out for weddings in the summertime.
Oh, okay.
And so that's to help augment the funds to do stuff on the ranch.
Yeah.
And-
Diversify the portfolio.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
And so that's another thing we were talking about is like, there's a lot of people that come up here from the city, like Bay Area or LA, and it's nice to say like, hey, this is a ranch that supports birds, and Audubon, we're connected with the Audubon Society.
Yeah.
And people were like, oh, that's really just kind of a feel good vibe about
Yeah.
the whole place, that I feel like is an asset for what we do. So and it's weird because it's different time of the year. I think like right now I'm starting to hear the meadowlarks
Yeah.
sing, and so it's different things show up at different times. And I kind of old school, just like, oh yeah, the meadowlarks are, oh now I hear the cliff swallows are here, cool, it's March or whatever. So
That's
but yeah,
how
we
you
don't
tell
have
what
an
month it is? By what bird you're hearing?
Yeah.
yeah. But I don't know if we actually have like a list going.
It's pretty robust. I mean, we have 3 different species of owls. And we, that's each species has we've got red-winged blackbirds, tricolored blackbirds, and then of course the horrible European starlings as well.
We did see a bunch of those as we were coming up.
Sorry, just like everywhere else.
I feel like starlings and cowbirds, when you're around, and like any ranch operation or any operation where you're growing food crops of any sort, you're going to end up with starlings and cowbirds, no matter what.
Yeah, they figured out the whole human
They
thing.
love the human like excess
Right.
food interaction. When there any sort of spillage, they're all about it.
Oh yeah, you should see when we feed the chickens in the morning.
I'm
They're
sure.
right there. Yeah.
But there's been so much we've learned. Like when I got here, there was some bluebird boxes, and some were working and some weren't. And like sometimes I even noticed that the starlings would use the bluebird boxes, and I was like, oh, it's not ideal situation.
Yeah.
So what I learned is that the bluebird boxes that were made had the hole that was 1 5/9 inches, and I even found the bit for it. And then I read it's like, no, you got to do 1 1/2. So I basically created some 1 1/2 inch holes and then put them over the 1 5/9.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was that was one of my really amazed because the starlings would try to get in. This is a place they were building a nest, and I put the 1 1/2 inch over, and they couldn't get in.
Ah,
And
nice.
it was like, I was like, oh wow, this is like
Solutions.
So it's really like really important. The size of the you just think, oh, it's a birdhouse with a hole in it. But like the size of the hole is critical
Yeah.
for success on like bluebirds especially.
Yeah, it's the little things
Yeah.
that make a big difference. Like the fencing to be able to properly graze, to keep the grass growing in a certain way, and the keeping the cattle out of the creek so the creek stays flowing clean. All of these little things end up lining up to creating a better overall habitat over the whole
Not having
whole
outdoor
property.
cats.
Not having outdoor cats, 100%.
We were approached years ago by a feline group that wanted to release feral cats, and I was like,
Ooh, yeah, that's a non-starter.
yeah. No, thank you.
But yeah, we've learned a lot. I had a friend come out and say, like, you should put up a kestrel box. So I put one up, and then another friend came out and was like, that's not going to work. And I was like, why? And he's like, see all the branches around it? Kestrels like to fly straight in. So I got out the ladder, and I trimmed all, I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work. And within a week, the kestrels had
Kestrel
made
was in there.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
So it's for me, it's like, wow, I'm learning. It feels really neat to learn.
The birds are pretty amazing teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the kind of tenets of our program is that we use birds as the indicator species. So that's why we focus on monitoring for birds, because if the bird population is healthy, then the insect population is healthy, and the plant population is healthy, and the water is clean. Birds are only there if all other factors are true. And so we feel like if we're seeing healthy bird populations on these places, then everything else must be going pretty well.
So out on the in the pastures when they're not being grazed, is there restoration work that happens on those, replanting of natives or anything like that, or is this just letting the stuff recuperate naturally?
Combination of both.
Okay.
This is kind of what we've been doing the last year, Nick and I. We got a grant from the NRCS to fence off a couple watersheds, and the original, it was fenced off 35 years ago by Dwayne, and the trees had grown so much that they're literally breaking the fence down that's there. And so we ended up getting a grant to increase the width of that space and then do 2 other drainages.
Oh, okay.
And so we just completed that month ago. Got paid, and it was awesome. And now we're starting to see a combination. Like I have some natives that I started from seed, just collecting locally, and I have a nursery and planting some things. But also a lot of stuff's showing up. There's this patch of lupin that showed up in the area that I didn't even know was there.
Huh.
And so really, kind of interesting and things that are showing up that are
Do
surprises.
cows like lupin? Is that a choice food for them?
It can actually be toxic.
Or they just leave it alone?
Yeah.
So
it's
they
toxic for
shouldn't
them.
eat
Yeah.
them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do they know to avoid it and they just see it and they kind of walk? Okay.
Typically,
mostly it's the
yeah.
their footprint that keeps them from
The
coming
trampling of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but actually, so what we have learned in rangeland ecology in general, but then, what we practice in this program as well, is that actually grazing is a restoration practice, or can be, if used appropriately. Because if you think about it, this whole state was intensively managed by indigenous people, and then also was experiencing the migration of big herds of native herbivores. And
way back before we got really heavily involved in
right, yeah, exactly. And so, we've got now fences and private property and roads and things that would make it pretty impossible for those herds to move in the way that they did historically. But we have this great tool that is domesticated animals. Mm-hmm. And so by using domesticated animals and moving them around in a similar disturbance pattern that this land would have experienced previously, you can encourage a lot of those native plants to come back, or a lot of the native grasses, for instance, these bunch grasses, have either seeds or roots that are latent in the ground. And so just by redoing the historic disturbance pattern in those areas, they start to appear on their own. So there's a lot you can do.
A little bit of aeration and then leaving it alone.
Right.
That's it do its thing.
A little bit of fertilizer too.
A little bit of fertilizer added.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all part of the
little
nutrient
pies,
cycle, right? Because you have to, especially, in a state like this where it is so dry, things aren't going to decompose on their own without something eating them or it burning, really. And so either using animals that are eating them, digesting them, pooping them out, or using prescribed fire to burn these areas. That's really the only way to get rid of plant material after it's dead.
So based on the program's website, it said that you all have 11 ranches that you're working with?
Yeah, so actually more than that now, I think.
Okay.
The website's out of date.
Yeah, the website is out of date. Well, yeah, this number changes constantly.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah, we're working hard, so... Yeah, so I think now we're up to 14 that are certified, and then we've got another 10 that we're in the process of certifying, so this ranch is one of the ones that we're in the process of getting certified. And in total, I think... Again, this number changes a lot, but I think in total now we're working with around 250,000 acres in California, which is pretty exciting.
And
that's a big chunk.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So where does that all span in California?
We've got ranches that we're working with, and again, these are in various stages of certification, all the way from Siskiyou County to San Diego.
Oh, wow.
So it really spans the whole state. California has a lot of rangelands, and I've been using that term a lot, but rangeland just refers to anything that has a grass understory and can be grazed by livestock. And so in California, that would be oak savanna, oak woodland, coastal prairie like this, chaparral, shrub habitats. But there are millions of acres of that in California, and so there's a lot of work to be done.
As there always is.
Yes.
And I'm sure as ranchers you know that too. There's always more work to be done, right?
Oh boy.
Yeah, you were literally working when we pulled up here.
Yeah.
Wrangling cattle to move them from place to place.
Well, tomorrow we're branding the calves, so I bring all the cattle in close.
Okay.
The back before to have them close for my help that comes to help me. So.
It's always more work.
Mm-hmm. The unique thing about this ranch too is it goes from the highway, 2.5 miles back. It's a narrow ranch, so rotational grazing on this ranch, I've tried it and it doesn't really work. So what I've done is I've cut the pastures down, and I have a certain amount of cattle I put in each pasture. And they stay there year round.
Okay.
And I can pull them and put them because some ranches are so wide and they can section off the fencing for rotational grazing.
Okay.
It won't work here. It's a fight. If I want to move cattle from here to the back of the ranch, I got to go through 2 other pastures to get them there.
It's too much work to try to get.
Well, it'd be
the shape
like,
isn't right.
Okay, I want this pasture to grow, but I got to bring cattle through it to get to the other the back pasture.
Yeah.
So it's not going to work.
I see.
Where other ranches have they're so wide and not so narrow where they can come together with fencing kind of and just open up an electric fence and they go into another pasture. Like up here at Vanderhoovel's, where Pat's out, and that's how they manage their ranch. It's a wider ranch.
Yeah.
But we still do, we still have a lot of north-facing slope here in this ranch, which is a very productive for grass, comparatively speaking to other ranches like our neighbor here. It's mostly south-facing, where the sun cooks the grass, and as you can, like just sitting right here with this reflection off the ocean.
Oh yeah.
That front pasture right there gets affected by the reflection off the ocean, where it kills the grass a lot quicker than the back of the ranch.
Okay.
So the front of the ranch, I only have a handful of cattle on it because I know by summertime there's not going to be much feed there
Yeah.
because of the reflection of the ocean kills the grass.
You just know so much about all of this.
Well, it's not me. I was I mean, I had very good mentors that
Yeah.
taught me a lot. It's not me. Yeah,
But you also have your boots on the ground here every day, so
Every day.
that's an education right there.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
being on the land.
Yeah.
well, yeah, and you learn about it. You learn. It's like
See the
God,
patterns.
it's so hard to rotate this grass, and I want to keep it nice, but so I did other things, and it's manageable now.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
work.
and the nicer the grass is, the better, the more healthy it is for the cattle to eat it
Oh,
anyways.
absolutely.
And so the habitat restoration is not only just good for the environment, but it also helps the cattle then, because you've got your grass lasts longer because the roots were able to go deeper and get deeper water. Like everything ends up working together. That it just makes the cattle healthier and happier in the end, right?
Someone that's smarter than me started saying, "What's good for the bird is good for the herd."
Good for the,
I
all
like
right.
that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's
It's
the
good for the
title of your
bird.
podcast.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
We need bumper stickers that say that.
I think actually our program is trying to make
Okay,
sense.
good.
So there might
Nice.
be
All right.
some, yeah.
Yes. We won't steal it. We'll let you make
Yeah,
it. We'll buy one. Yeah.
Proprietary information.
So, your neighbors, have you talked to them about this kind of program and tried to pique their interest in it?
Not yet.
The
No?
neighbor
So
to
we're doing
the
that?
east, Boyd, my friend that I went to high school with, were neighbors, and he constantly is calling me about, wanting to go and where are the eagles, where are the birds, and so he's into it.
Yeah.
Just got to get him more. I got to get more educated and with Paul, and then I can pass. And I've been passing a lot on to him because he'll walk up on the top now and he'll see him, and he'll call me or send me a picture of him or whatever.
Yeah, just a little bit at a time.
Right? And I think this ranch has a conservation easements, so they are already integrating some of these practices because that's
Yeah,
part of their easement.
Part of their lease, I think.
Yeah.
But as far as answering your question, yeah, I mean everybody's around here is kind of has one thing or another to do with conservation. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think
That's super
that's
cool.
important for our listeners to know is that, like you said, what's good for the bird is good for the herd. I mean, there's so many people who work with the land and really have a vested interest in keeping it, working for themselves and working for the wildlife.
Right. Yeah. I think people don't get to be 5th or 6th generation ranchers without having some kind of stewardship ethic, because you want to stay in business year after year, and you can't do that unless you are sustaining your resources well. And if you're sustaining your resources well for your animals that are grazing, they're an indicator species just like the birds are, so the cattle are going to suffer if the land is suffering, or you won't be able to graze as many, so your business will be suffering. And so if you're taking good care of your cattle and you're taking good care of your land, the birds are benefiting as well. And I think that's the biggest thing that we're just trying to get out of this program is making sure that conservationists, birders, everyone understands how much work is happening on these ranches on a day-to-day basis and how valuable they can be for birds.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, is there anything else that we need to tell our listeners, or you need to tell our listeners about what it's
Birds and
like,
cattle
and
ranch,
any other takeaways that you have
I'll
from?
share one, maybe a last tidbit.
Yeah.
When I was a little kid, my favorite holiday was Christmas, and I'd wake up and be like, "Oh, what did Santa bring me under the tree?" and open up presents, and it was just this amazing feeling. I would say the closest, and maybe even as intense feeling I get is that as a 56-year-old man is waking up and seeing some of the birds thriving, like what we're describing. We have a barn. We put up a barn owl box, and there's just owls flying everywhere at night, and our front door's covered in owl pellets
Love
and
it.
poop.
Well,
and stuff like
that's so
that.
cool.
The mouse population's
Rafters
coming.
in the barn, when they have their owl babies, you can go in there and literally one time there was 20 babies.
It's all branched out across the
lying on
rafters.
the top of the rafter,
Uh-oh.
and they didn't know how to fly or they were scared. Mom and Dad took off, and, several mom and dads. But no, this ranch has always had. Dwayne was very conscientious about bird life and habitat and all that. So we're just passing it on. Moving through it.
Just keeping it going.
We used to have a daily morning conversation with a kingbird. He used to describe that was one of his highlights of the day. So just
But I
the
think
yeah.
on the education end of it is once you start seeing it, it's like a noxious weed. Once you start seeing it, you see them everywhere.
Oh yeah.
It's just like a bird. Like you start seeing them, and it's like, oh my gosh. You take it for granted at times when you're in the back of the ranch or whatever, and all of a sudden these kestrels will start flying by, and you watch them like, where's he going? And then up in the rocks, those birds, the sun radiates the heat for them at night, so they'll live in the rocks, so they'll stay warm. They're smart.
Yeah.
When they're up high with any predator, so yeah, you just learn them as you go, and you kind of think like a bird. It's really, I've learned so much from Paul. Once you learn it, you start liking it.
Yeah.
So, wow, this is good for everybody.
Nice. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for
Yeah,
taking
thank you
time
so
out of.
much.
I know you guys are super busy doing stuff, but thanks for taking time to sit around and chat with us about this whole program and your passion with cattle and conservation.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Super,
Yeah,
super
thank you.
So I wanted to give a big, huge thank you to Grace, to Kyla, to Paul, and to Nick, the ranch's Superman out there, to spending. We spent a good hour and a half with them,
Yeah.
maybe 2 hours with them. When we pulled up, Nick and Paul were very busy working, and they were like, "Oh, you're here, awesome!" And so then we all went up to the house, but they got a lot. There's a lot of work to do on a ranch.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
But we really want to say a big thank you to them for taking some time out of their day to talk with us about what the program means to them. And my biggest takeaway essentially was what's good for the bird is good for the herd. That was like my favorite.
That was good.
That was my favorite takeaway out of it.
Well, and so I have like some background knowledge in like ranching and about agriculture and that sort of things because of the college program that I went through, but I have no practical experience in it. Like we asked some probably really basic questions that the listeners might have known the answer to, but if you don't have experience in that field, you might not know anything about. But it's so interesting to like see the application of these things that they're doing and how that impacts the ranch, but also how it impacts the bird population. And it's so fun to hear about like, hey, they had a ton of grasshoppers, but then they encouraged kestrels to come and that helped take care of the problem.
And it was interesting to hear it from the rancher's perspective, like specifically from somebody who's caring for cattle in that situation where it's like his whole mindset was the amount of grass that's here and what the cows are eating. And it, like, oh, well, we have too many, the invasive grasshoppers are in here eating all of the grass, and the birds are fixed that. Now the grass is back. And that was his entire focus from that perspective was on the cattle and the grass, not from how cool it is to have more birds.
Yeah.
Like it was just interesting to hear that whole side, that different perspective on the whole thing.
Yeah, so thank you so much to Swallow Creek Ranch for having us out, and for Audubon, California for coordinating this whole thing and sharing more about this cool program. It'll be great to see how it continues to grow and get more ranches involved, and see how that impacts the California ranching community.
Yeah.
Because I think it can do some really cool things.
I think so too, yeah. So thank you guys all for listening to our podcast. We hope you enjoyed it and or learned something new. Please, please, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Music, or anywhere else that you listen to us. If you would like to connect with us on the socials, you can follow us at Hannah Goes Birding and Eric Goes Birding on Instagram. You can follow our Facebook page at Hannah and Eric Go Birding. You can also send us an email at hannahhandericgobirding@gmail.com. You can also check out our website at www.gobirdingpodcast.com. Tell us what you think and share the love of birding with your friends.
Mm-hmm.